Oh yeah. So I know we've been talking about having this conversation for a long time.
We have.
Yeah.
We
So
have.
yeah, we have. So I'm really delighted that we're actually having it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah. Good. So,
Yeah.
so I wonder, probably a really good place to start would be for us to perhaps say a little bit more about what we actually mean when we say complex.
Yeah. And I think when you say that, what comes up for me is almost like how that's evolved for me over the years. I think originally when I was working in complex trauma, I would think of it as very fragmented parts, maybe very dissociated, DID, that kind of, and that was kind of where I began a lot of my work, and then recognizing, over the years, how different that is now, and how it's talked about. It's much, people know a lot more about complex trauma, and recognizing that there are so many complex systems. Our systems are complex. So I think complex trauma now, from my original thoughts, it's very broad, and
yeah. And when you say that, it makes me think, how complex our lives are actually now, and the complexities, the external systems that we live in, and how complex they are, and then when I kind of think about internal complex systems, I think about lots of layers, maybe, and kind of dissociation, definitely, that kind of spectrum of dissociation brings a complexity. And I also think about shame-based systems, where shame is kind of almost intricately woven through the very core of someone's system. So that's what comes to me when I think about complex.
Those interwoven layers that can get so tangled.
Yes,
they can get so tangled together, and it's like we're untangling them.
Yes,
one little bit at a time.
Beautiful. Yeah. And something, the other thing that comes to mind is that kind of sense of the layers of protection that can be around, and the almost like the interrelational in the layers of protection as well, and the dynamics, the internal dynamics in the layers of protection.
Absolutely. Jo, what would you consider the biggest challenges to working with complex trauma?
I think that's a great question, and it's a big question.
It's a big question.
Yeah. And I don't know, the first thing that comes up for me is actually I really enjoy working with complex trauma. Whether that's the right word, I'm not sure, but there's certainly something in me that feels very drawn to that. Probably my own complexity, I would imagine, has something to do with that. And some of the challenges, I think, what I find in my work and over the years, what I've found in my own system is sometimes there's a limited access to self-energy, and that can make unblending a bit more difficult, a bit more challenging for some of those systems. And also what I'm aware of is that there can be some quite kind of layers of protection, and some of that protection can be parts in quite extreme roles. And they, and also very, very held in position, and very dedicated actually to the jobs that they do in those systems. So they're the first things that come up for me. What about you?
So that's sort of building enough safety within the internal system to actually be able to make those change, sort of provide some healing and some changes.
That's right.
Right. And when you say that, it also makes me think about the sort of, again, the external is with complex systems, with our systems that are getting activated or triggered in daily life.
Yes.
When just the thought of opening the door to somebody, or somebody knocking on the door. You know, I'm thinking about everyday sort of things as I look at your door, and I'm sort of thinking, when our system doesn't feel safe, it's really hard to feel safe enough to heal.
That's right.
And there's a double edge kind of there, isn't there?
That's right. It's really hard for some of those parts just to kind of trust enough, isn't there, in the present time, in the present day.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, just thinking about those parts who are they can be so trapped in their story.
Yes.
You know, I think about them as, you know, as parts holding a story, and we might have lots of parts holding a very similar story, but different stories.
Yes.
And they're saying those words over and over. You know, I'm bad, for example.
Yes.
You know, I'm bad, and so many parts are feeling like they're bad, and the belief system runs all the way through us like a stick of rock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And so we can have those layers and layers and layers of unburdening, or of witnessing, or being with.
Nice.
That make it complex and long. It can be long term, really long term work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So. Sorry, did you want to say something else?
Well, I was also thinking, if that's okay, just also thinking about challenges, you know, that I've experienced sort of over the years is working with my own parts that might be in the therapy room. You know, so with complex systems, you know, the more I've worked with my parts that maybe have had an agenda to rescue or make it better, I think from an IFS perspective, it's helped me to feel less challenged by that. You know, I guess the more self-energy, the more our own parts or my own parts aren't blocking the way.
Yeah.
Or aren't getting activated, or aren't trying to do something.
Yeah.
It's just transforms the experience as well, I think.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that. It makes me think of my own as well, you know, kind of really recognising when there's parts that are kind of really leaning into the work. And, you know, I'm kind of reminded of something that Marielle Pastor says, you know, it's, are you reading the water or are you pushing the river? You know, and it really landed with me, and it stayed with me, and you know, it's really helped me get in touch with some of my therapist parts that, you know, would like to guide the work in a certain direction, you know. I'm really being able to recognise the difference in my system between being in that energy of that part and then being able to really soften that back and feeling much more kind of open to just meeting and attuning to what's arising in front of me.
Open-hearted. Just being really present. Can you say the quote again from Marielle Pastor? That's beautiful.
Well, I hope I get it right. But I think my memory says that it's, are you reading the water or pushing the river?
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. And it's just like a little check for us, just to check in with our own parts, our therapist parts. Is there an agenda here?
I can feel myself even settling back, even as you say it. Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you, Marielle.
Thank you, Marielle. I can feel my spine again.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Lovely. Is that kind of leaning forward, you know, that physical, that real physical kind of noticing. You know, being able to notice my parts are, you know, I really feel them in my body.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And so actually posture can be one way to really help me tell or acknowledge whether or not I'm... Who's here? Actually, who's here? Who's trying to help here? Yeah.
And even that, you know, that, like you say, leaning forward, you know, our manager parts with the agenda are kind of like, come on, you know, and then settling back.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so our next question is how do you think, or do you think that unburdening can look different when working with complexity in complex systems?
Yeah, another good question, hey? Yeah, so I immediately think of letting go. When we think about unburdening, we're thinking about letting go, to the wind, or as we do traditionally in IFS therapy, and I think with more complex systems, and depending on again, there's a, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a spectrum, of complex systems, of course, isn't there? So it depends where we might be on that spectrum as well. That's how I think about it anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. And sometimes that letting go can be, again, I'm thinking about your doors there, and and I'm thinking about, can we go out of the door, and is suddenly is it easier to go out for a walk? Suddenly, so that sort of letting go from being, from our parts feeling activated because we've got to go out, or to, a gradual process of suddenly, do you know what, I can go out now. I'm finding the world a safer place.
Yes.
So that's what immediately comes to mind, is not this
nice.
beautiful spontaneous unburdening, or an unburdening in a therapy session, but a natural progress of life feels a bit different.
Yes.
And we can forget that. What was life like 12 months ago or 5 years ago compared to now, and it's like, oh yeah, it looks different.
Yeah, that's right.
It looks different.
That's right.
Nice to remember that.
Yeah, and that makes me think also, adding to that, Sue, is that kind of sense of, are there bigger spaces between, certain episodes, whether that might be a shame spiral, or a part with a maybe addictive practice or something like that, are there bigger spaces in between now? And, again, that's kind of what you're speaking to, really, isn't it? That slightly more long-term view of progress.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
and letting go and softening in the system. Yeah, nice.
And I'm smiling a bit because when you mentioned shame,
yes,
I got a really funny story about shame, about my own experience around shame. But I think maybe it's not for today. And I'll mention it at the workshop.
I shall look forward to hearing that.
It is a very funny story. Shame.
Well, I think shame is a really important subject as well, and shame-based systems, and there's a lot of complexity in shame-based systems, in my experience, and also in my own system. You talked about a stick of rock earlier, and I would say certainly in my own system, shame has felt like at that, the writing in the centre of the stick of rock. It's kind of all the way through the system, and many parts holding the same belief. And coming back to unburdening, I was also, there's something about, when I think about perhaps a more traditional IFS session and IFS unburdening, it might be that an exile is only really able to let go of one tiny drop of something, and that can be really powerful, actually. One drop of something, and that tiny drop of space can then be available to take in something different, even if it's just one drop. So sometimes I think unburdenings in complex systems can be like a drop at a time.
So drop at a time, Jo. It's that sort of, make it smaller, and make it just a tiny little bit, so that we don't overwhelm the system.
Yes.
So so that our protectors aren't piling back in.
Yes.
And even the protectors, they're they're seeing, they're hearing, they're experiencing that drop at a time as well. Aren't they?
Yeah.
And the more they witness, the more they're going to soften back a drop at a time too.
And some of those protectors in complex systems, they're so young, right? as so young, you know, even pre-verbal, some
Yeah.
of them, and
Yeah.
you know, also I think benefit and need to let some stuff go, you know. They carry burdens themselves, burdens of
absolutely.
responsibility, burdens of getting you out of there,
Yeah.
you know, all of that. So that's also,
Huge.
I think, comes up for me in complex systems around unburdening.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's a really important thing to think about as well. That they do. They carry their own burdens, and there's so much to let go of.
Yeah, that's right.
So much to let go of. Yeah.
I know. I feel really compassionate. I do have a lot of compassion for those young protectors, and those young dissociative protectors.
Yeah.
You know, that we meet in complex systems. I like to think of them as childhood heroes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something we used to say, like the gift of dissociation.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's right.
The gift of dissociation, because you know we wouldn't be here without it. Many of us, and
that's right.
And it is a gift. And
yes,
there can be some payback when you're working through it. But, and again, that's the beautiful thing about IFS is how supportive and how gentle it can be.
Yeah.
In supporting our whole system.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and how we can really appreciate the gifts that all of those parts bring, you know, even those really extreme protectors and the gifts that they bring, and
absolutely, their creativity.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. And their managerial skills.
My manager sees your manager.
And mine sees yours.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. So I love that we're laughing there because the next question that we kind of talked about exploring was how do you notice people with complex trauma experience self-energy?
Yeah. I love this. I love this question actually, and I love thinking about self-energy and meeting self-energy in complex systems. And in my experience and in my own system, you know, it can feel different. I think my sense is it can be different, and when there's a lot of protectors in their dedicated roles and really working hard, it can be, you know, on our level 1 trainings, we think about the clouds in front of the sun, and you know, it can really obscure self-energy, and we know it's there, but it's just it can get very obscured, and it's like some of those parts are not able to give space to self-energy. So what I found with working with complex systems is, you know, often it can be really helpful to connect to the kind of the wave of self-energy. You know, we talk about the particle in the system and the wave in the external world, and you know, really connecting to that wave of self-energy and starting to internalize that a little, and inviting parts to notice that. And of course, even that's a process. And I think some parts in complex systems are, you know, can be very afraid of self-energy, or self-energy had to be exiled at a very young age, or it was, you know, because it might have been punished, or it wasn't acceptable. So even that, I think, titrating in self-energy can be very useful.
Yeah.
And in fact, that makes me think of a personal story with my own experience of self-energy, particularly compassion. You know, for a long time my heart was very shut down, and you know, my early IFS experiences was working a lot with my heart protectors.
Right.
You know, and when my heart protectors started to give space and I was feeling more compassion, it was actually, for some parts of me, it actually felt quite overwhelming. It was too big a feeling.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So really needing to kind of titrate that in. It was almost like some parts of me thought I couldn't handle it. You know, it would be too big for me to experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
courage is what comes up to me when you say that, you know, the courage to lean into that, to risk, to take those risks, to keep persisting. And I love, you know, that titrate, you know, again, that little drop at a time, you know, and just finding our way to to lean into all of that. And I think, Jo, thank you for sharing that as well. And I'm also thinking of flow. You mentioned particle and wave, and I love that. I think Dick Schwartz has, you know, he talks about that, doesn't he? And it's just a beautiful way of describing it. And I'm thinking of how finding flow in different ways. You know,
Nice.
I think with complexity, self energy comes in so many different ways. It can again flow in through a thread that's not so necessarily obvious to people. So it's creativity. It's about our relationship with nature or with animals. People think that maybe that there's no good, there's nothing good, or there's no good in them, or there's no good in the world.
That's right.
And then when we explore it a little bit more, there might be, you know, I love horse riding, or I like walking in the woods, or you know, all of these things, or I like running, or you know, these things that might they can also have other manager led experiences, but a lot of the time it's a pure love for something, isn't it? And your story about self energy, maybe I can share something about.
Please do. I'd love to hear.
So mine actually happened a very, very long time ago, and it was a millisecond. It was a millisecond of a time when I was very unwell, and I was just doing something innocuous, which is often again when you know, when there's no, you know, when we're not particularly looking for danger or something. And suddenly I just had this split second of everything went quiet in my head, which it hadn't done for a long time, and everything went calm. So I had this clarity and I had this calm, and it was like this tiny, tiny split second of a miracle.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, I need to feel that again.
Oh.
So mine was like, I need that again, and I need that again, and I wanted to make that split second into a second, into 5 seconds, into a minute, into and that was my intention.
That sounds beautiful, and I don't know whether this felt like that for you. When you tell me that story, it makes me think of, you know, when a kind of a remembering, you know, almost like a remembering of something innate at our core, you know, that self energy that's there right at the beginning, you know, that we're surrounded by.
Absolutely.
Really,
and I think
powerful,
you know,
story.
over my experiences, you know, that's, I mean, I didn't know what that was then. I just knew I wanted to feel it again. And as you say, it's almost like a pinprick of light. It's almost like the light was allowed in. And I thought, I need to make that light bigger.
Powerful story.
Jo, is there anything more that you feel you'd like to add or say about any of that?
I mean, there's so much to say, really.
There
is so much to say, and we could talk about this for a long time. And you know, and I guess we could say that we are going to be talking about this in more detail in our workshop in November. And I am really looking forward to that. I think the creative process between us around creating that has been wonderful.
Amazing.
And I'm really looking forward to it, and we can really deepen into some of these topics and others. And what about you?
I mean, thanks for bringing that in, Jo, because I guess I'll speak for my sister, you know, the process that we have been through over the last 12, 18 months for my system has been, you know, just been all of it. You know, it's been amazing, and I've learned so much more about my own system through this process. It has been one of those gifts, those enormous gifts, to hasn't always felt like a gift.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
we've worked really hard
We have.
to explore ourselves and to
Yeah.
explore what we hope to provide and, you know, and create.
Yeah.
And it's been quite extraordinary, to be honest. I'm really grateful to you
Yeah.
for that, and really looking forward to November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and are you, Sue, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely.
Okay. Thank you for listening.
Cue music.
And cut.